Welcome to an APH Access Academy webinar, the Tactile Graphic Image Library. Hello, hello. And with us today, Sally, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sally Hart, and I have worked at APH for 8 years, and I am a tactile graphic designer in the Accessible Test and Textbook Department. I'm also a certified Braille transcriber and a member of MBA's Tactile Graphic Committee.
And we have a special guest with us today. So I am going to highlight Mike from the museum. Hi, Mike. You are muted, so try one more time.
It's funny. You never notice how often we do that. What a pain. I'm Mike Hudson. I'm coming to you live from the museum here at the American Printing House of the Blind. I'm in the science section of the museum. We're talk a little bit about early tactile graphics. So this is a relief picture of a gar pike and a pike from a German producer named Martin Kunz. Kunz was operating out of the Braille Institute in Ilzach, Germany, which is in Alsace today, which is part of France. And he was one of the first guys to come up with a way to mass-produce tactile graphics. He would literally carve by hand both the positive and the negative of his graphic out of wood. So imagine having to do that today. Then he would wet a piece of paper, stick it between the two blocks, put it in a big printing press, crunch, you'd get your finished picture, and then it would be coated, at least this one is, with varnish to stiffen it up. And then the captions are in Braille in both French and in German, because Alsace-Lorraine changed hands several times. Now, he made all kinds of maps and drawings. This is one that I'm going to try and see if I can get enough light on the relief to show you it's there we go, a little bit.
Right there.
Those are, it's all the different shapes of the leaves. So a way of a taxonomy, right, of trees by the shapes of their leaves in a tactile format. So we have all kinds of tactile graphics from Kunz from the 1890s to about 1910, and they were sold all over the world. If you're interested in more stories like this, I suggest you go to our Facebook or our Twitter page, which is at APH Museum, at APH Museum. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mike. Okay, let me get my slideshow back going.
We're in a tornado warning.
Sorry about that. I have an interesting tornado warning at my house right now. There you go, Sally.
Okay, terrific. Well, the things I'm going to show today are not as old as the things Mike has shown you. But nevertheless, today's webinar is about the Tactile Graphic Image Library. And we all know that textbook illustrations tend to be complex and oftentimes three-dimensional, especially the images that fall into the STEM category. And if you've been following along in this Tactile Graphic webinar series, you know that simple or complex, tactile graphics must be produced to be read and understood by touch alone. So together we must find a way to deliver the detailed visual information of a print textbook in a manner that is comprehensible to the Braille reader. To aid in this process of quality tactile graphics, APH created the Tactile Graphic Image Library, or the TGIL, which provides quality-based images to assist in the production of custom tactile graphics. So the next slide is going to show what you're going to learn today. Today, since my goal is to demonstrate the basics of using a drawing software program in combination with this library to make the graphics you need, hopefully after this presentation, you will know how to register, navigate, and download files from the library. You will also know how to customize and change the image to meet your educational needs and for your production method. You will also know where to go and who to email if you run into issues, have questions, or have ideas for the TGIL. So the Tactile Graphic Image Library. I think Leanne has a poll question for you. And this is, are you registered for the Tactile Graphic Image Library? Yes, I love it. Or yes, but I'm not sure how to use it. Or your answer, not yet. So go ahead and take just a few minutes.
If you can't access the poll, feel free to drop your answer in the chat. That is just fine. We are at over 75%, so I'm going to end the poll and share those results. 17% yes, 25% yes, but not sure how to use it. 59% not yet. Look at your wonderful audience. Great time to be here.
Absolutely. So I'm getting ready to share my screen. And if any point my words don't match what you are viewing, please interrupt me so we can get back on track. And here we go. Here is the Tactile Graphic Image Library page. So to begin, you're going to need to log on to Image Library at aph.org to gain access to a wide variety of image templates free of charge. For those of you who answered not yet, you will need to fill out the short registration form. Click the button. This form is where you will pick your login name and your password. And be sure to check down here at the bottom. I would like to receive an email when new graphics are added. This allows you access to quarterly news of added assets and other tactile graphic related images information. After you've established your account, you will simply sign in by using the credentials you assigned yourself. Putting mine in now, and click the sign in button. If at any point you have forgotten your sign-in information, email tgfeedback@aph.org and someone from the TGIL team will assist you. The README first document. I recommend that you actually read this document. It is an important page. Along with containing a few library basics, it is always good to be reminded that a tactile graphic is not an exact reproduction of the print page. Know that there are resources out there to help, and we are one of them. So let's enter the TGIL and explore this free resource. Click the Enter TGIL button. And here we are. Welcome to the TGIL. As we navigate this site, think about your tactile graphic experiences. What type of graphics do you find yourself doing the most of, needing the most of? Go ahead and type those into the chat, what graphic or graphic type you do the most of, so I can have a reference to know what to show you. Is it grids, cycles, shapes, maps, classroom activities? Keep those past and current images in your mind today, and you should see how this library will work for you. The site's categories are divided into core and expanded core curriculum. So finding an image really is that easy. So be sure to scroll all the way to the bottom as I just did. You should not be surprised when I tell you the top used categories names. Social studies. I've clicked that button. Under this parent category is where you're going to find globe images, map projections, fault line movements, and compass rose. The subcategories, such as the United States, contains the national map as well as individual state outlines. We also have categories for other countries and continents, such as South America. Click on that and give you a view, and here you will see outlines of the South American countries, as long as other maps that are associated with that. And we have Asia and Europe. We even have some historical maps. And know that there also is a category for flags. We have the US flags and some country flags. We don't have all the country flags, but we're working on that. Another heavily used category is science. Typically, science diagrams are not as easy as map outlines, since science can get complex and rather 3D rather quickly, as we mentioned before. The main category contains not specific, hard to put in just one kind of branch category. You'll see beakers and flask. Here's a microscope. You'll find also animal outlines and plant leaves. You get the idea. Now, the subcategories for science are the major branches. So Earth and space. This is where you'll find eclipse, layers of the Earth, constellations. And life science, that's where you find life cycles, organs, bones, animal parts. This is a very large category. And assets in the science category are good candidates to offer tactile graphics along with manipulatives. I've known of educators using the coronavirus tactile graphic along with a homemade 3D version consisting of an orange and push pins. Now, physical science, let me get there, here we are. If you're needing a light prism, a carbon cycle, a nitrogen cycle, an oxygen cycle, atomic structures, I won't list them all, but this is where they're going to be found. Now, traditionally not part of the STEM, but definitely worth a mention is our art category. With thick, bold lines, these pages would be good for low vision students, or the whole classroom really could participate. If you are not in the classroom and you are a transcriber, your job is not to provide classroom activities or manipulatives. Your job is to provide accurate and readable equivalent information. So to provide this information, searching the category is one of the easiest ways to use the library. Another easy way to use the library is to use the search bar located at the top. And I'm just going to demonstrate, and I'm going to type in butterfly and click search. The search term butterfly brings up life cycles, labeled animal parts, and even coloring. And down here at the bottom, you even see the butterfly projection map. I'll type in weather. And here you are going to see cloud shapes, weather fronts, even umbrellas. All words that have been tagged with the keyword, as I've typed in axis here, will appear. And here is where you're going to find grid lines with your axis. Once you have found the image you like, you can either click on the thumbnail here, or if you're using a screen reader, the asset ID link is the first line of text that will be read. So I've clicked on the thumbnail, and in front of you, you will see an enlarged picture of the asset, and below it, you're going to find buttons. The back button will take you back to the list. And if you select the middle button, it will begin to immediately download. The collection cart feature, it organizes multiple images into a downloadable zip file for easy organization. And although this icon is similar to many shopping carts that require payment at the end of the day, remember this is a free service offering over 2,000 free assets for you to download. Now, of those assets, the animal cell and plant cell are some of our most downloaded images. And as you can see here, I have selected the animal cell. Most of the images are do not contain Braille, and that's because they are a template ready for you to customize. Now, if you do see the 2-cell alphabetical symbols, as on this animal cell, know that a key page is included with the download. Some of these images have the complete Braille, but most are used just for you to download. If you have graphic questions, need assistance, or have image ideas, please select this contact button, and that will bring you to email us at tgfeedback@aph.org. Another category I would like to take just a few minutes to mention is the 3D models category. I'll select it here. And what you see are going to be STL files. That is a common 3D printer file type. And more importantly, the images found there are APH replacement parts. So if you have, for instance, the Joy Player, and you would like to print yourself a new button, here's the place to do it. It's free and you can download that file. Okay, we have now gone through the complete process of registering and logging in, searching and finding the image, and customization is next. But before I move on, I would like to take a moment and ask if there are any questions or any other categories you would like to view before I move on.
So Sally,
Yes.
is this resource free for anyone?
Absolutely anyone, absolutely anywhere. The only requirement is that you make an account, and that's it. And in that account, that was the register page. That's where you assign your login and your password. And then you are free to download anything on the site.
We have some people who have registered just now. Once they register, we're making the suggestion to close and then go back in and use their information. Some of the people were trying to do it right away. So that was one of those pieces I just wanted to bring into being. And then we have questions that we'll be getting to about printers and what to use with them. That is definitely what this is about. So stay tuned for those.
Yes, that will come up. The plan for today, since we have gone through the library, we are now going, well, I'm now going to show you how to use
one more request.
Okay.
Do you have a graphic of the eye?
The eye. Well, let's hit the search. I've typed in eye, hit select, and here you go. We have quite a few. Let me select this one. Astigmatism. And there is a simplified cross-section view. I don't know how well it's showing up, and I'm going to utilize the back button to take me back to the eye list. And then I will scroll down for a few. Now, this guy, he's a flask, and you may be wondering why he showed up. And that's because Meyer, the EYE in Meyer. So sometimes you'll have those little hiccups, but they should be understandable. And so here's the eyeball, all sorts of things with it, even eyeglasses, lens types. So yes, we do have a wide variety of images. So thank you. Thank you for
You've got a
whoever
couple
typed it in.
more.
All right.
If you can't remember your password, what do you do?
You contact us and we will help you change it. We are in the process of having a change password button on the login site, which will be very useful. But until then, just email tgfeedback@aph.org and we'll get you reset up.
You showed us some graphics of animals. What category was that in? And are there other categories of animals?
The category of the animal outline was in the science parent category, so just the science, and I'll scroll down there. And we have quite a few. If you type in animal in the search bar, you're going to get every single one of them. So if what you are looking for is bird, I suggest typing in bird, but I can do a scroll through here. And you're seeing everything from bisons to cows to goats, anything you could possibly want. And this might be a good time just to say, we have over 2,000 images, but if you are, say like crab, if you are wanting and needing a crab and you think others would find that useful, and for some reason you can't find it in the library, use the contact button. We will either one, direct you to where it can be found in the library, or two, if we feel that it would be a good fit, we will gladly draw it and add it to the library and then let you know that it's there available for download.
One more. What about Washington, D.C., maps of the monuments, the buildings?
We do have, and I just created the Capitol Hill outline. I apologize, I've been busy. I don't know that it has made it in there, but as far as buildings, that would be, oh, sorry, I kind of went too fast for you there. That would be in the monument and landmarks. And again, if a highly recognizable, say like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you're looking for that and you do not find it, then again, we will gladly add it to it, because the whole purpose is to provide these base images to make it easier for you all and so that everyone has access to the same images.
If someone has created a tactile image, may they submit those images to be reviewed and possibly added to the library?
Oh, perfect question. Thank you. And the answer is yes. And when you do that, let me, whoop. And sorry about that. I must have hit a button there. When you do that, your information will go into the metadata. And I'm pulling up, and this is the Tiger and Phoenix category. These are PRNs ready to run on those machines. I've taken you to this category because once we get there, the Wyoming prison that we work with a lot with textbooks had the world map already drawn in PRN form. And so when you select that, down here in the production notes, you will see WY Brand Institute, WMCI Braille Program. Now you don't have to be in a program to submit images. Your name will go in the production notes. However, you communicate with us of what you want it to say. So yes, if we don't already have it and it is something you would like to share, then we will work with you and possibly get it into the library. Excellent question. Thank you.
I want something specific made, like a detail of my city or a specific landmark in my town. Are those something that you guys can create if I request it?
Well, the tactile, we provide the base. If it's something user specific, say your town or your state, and you wanted to do, say, the tourist attractions, or, you know, whatever it is that you want to show. So I live in Kentucky, so I'm typing in Kentucky. And I'll be getting ready to show you how you can customize these. But here is the Kentucky state outline. Now, it doesn't have the capital city of Frankfurt. It doesn't have the Kentucky River. It doesn't have the Daniel Boone National Forest. That's kind of on purpose, because not everybody is going to need all of those things or any of those things. So this is the customizable base that you take over, and pretty soon I'll get ready to show you Inkscape. That is a free drawing software program that you can take this file into and add exactly what you need.
Okay, I think they've slowed down. Many of them you're going to get to. So are you ready to move on?
Sure, we will move on. So as I said, customization is next. And so after you've downloaded your editable PDF, you can open it in vector drawing software programs. That can be programs such as CorelDRAW. That is what I use on a day-to-day basis, or Adobe Illustrator. Now, both of those do come with a price point, but they also have their perks. And you can also use it in Word. And as I just mentioned, you can use it in free drawing software programs such as Inkscape. And so to stick with the free theme, since the TGIL is free, the files are free, we're going to work with the free program. Now you can download this at inkscape.org. Okay, I'm going to switch the view there. Are you seeing Inkscape?
We are.
Terrific. Okay. BANA's guidelines and standards for tactile graphics state that there are 4 primary components that make up a tactile graphic, no matter the production method. And all tactile graphics use area textures, lines, points, and labels to represent all the information. So since those are the 4 elements, the building blocks of tactile graphics, that's going to be our focus. Here on the screen, this is a TGIL image. It's a PDF that was downloaded. It's the 12 by 12 Cartesian grid. Now over here to the side, these are simply the toolbars and sidebars that, since I know you can't really see my icons, I've just kind of blown them up and zoomed them up so you have access to them. But first step, to open a TGIL image asset in Inkscape, you can either go to File up at the top and Open, and then select the PDF from there, and then it should appear on your screen. Or you can either right-click on the PDF file icon and select Open With and choose Inkscape to be. Now, let me zoom in here so you can see. Again, the images you're seeing right here are a blown-up version of the actual tools on the left-hand side. Okay, and so the first thing we're going to talk about are shapes. You can choose a preset shape that you want to draw by selecting one of these tools. We have the rectangle tool. It draws rectangles and squares, and its shortcut key is F4. To create circles, ellipses, and arcs, you're going to use this, it looks like a pink ball. Select that, and that's where you can make circles. Directly below the circle tool is your Polygon tool. And this creates stars and polygons. And for some reason, Inkscape has the triangle set as a 3-point star. So just be aware that's where you can find it. And if you need to change the star corners, how many it has, it is up here on the top bar when you select the Polygon tool. So here, I'll just change that so you can see. But 3 corners, that is their triangle. So to make a point symbol, you will select the circle tool and simply hold while dragging to adjust the size. To change the shape of the size drawn, you will need to use the Selector tool. So if you're trying to do something, if you're trying to select the object that you have drawn and you're just making more circles or it's not working, it's probably because you don't have the Selector tool selected. So here we are. I have selected the circle. And up at the top, you have a W and an H. That changes the width and the height. And so you are able to, hold on, let me select that. You are able to change that. And then also know that your measurements can change. So I changed mine to inch. I'll type in 0.25. And then 0.25 again. And there you have a more accurate point symbol. Inkscape maintains the last stroke, which is the outline, and the last fill, which is the shading that you have used. To change these, you are going to right-click on the object and go down to fill and stroke. Now, I have a blown up version of this right here. Hopefully that will allow you to see it a little bit better. Now, once your fill and stroke Docker bar is up, the fill again is for the inside. That's where you're going to put your texture. Right now, this circle is set to red. Your stroke paint, that is the color of your outside line. And the stroke style, that's where you're going to be able to change its thickness. And that's where you can make a solid line, a dashed line, or a dotted line. Stay away from the dot dash dot lines because those are much harder to follow. And this is set to RGB. A list of the color values can be easily found on an online search, black being 000 and white being the 255 all the way down. You can also use this bottom bar to change the colors. I'm going to zoom back out. And so let's change the point symbol that we have actually drawn. To zoom in, this would be a good point to mention it, is shortcut key Z, or you can use the toolbar that looks like a magnifying glass. And with each tool, your icon will change right here. It also looks like a magnifying glass. So we'll zoom in there. We do not need a no fill red outline point symbol. That's just not going to work. So I'm going to change the fill, the inside, to a solid black and the line to a solid black. I could have also gone up here and used the stroke paint and then again the stroke style. And I will change the stroke style to a 2-point line. So there is a point symbol. And we've also talked about how to add texture to an object. Are there any questions about adding a point before we move on to the line?
You let me know, are you editing in Inkscape and it becomes part of the existing PDF that you opened? So you're overlaying these shapes onto the PDF image in Inkscape?
No, you are not working on the PDF file. You have opened the image that is in the PDF into this program. You can save this drawing, the drawing that you have edited.
Modified?
You can save that. Its default is a SVG, which is called a scalable vector graphic. But you also have other options, as you see here. Well, hopefully you can see in this dropdown. You can create a new PDF if that's what you need. Or there are definitely other options for that. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
I think it does.
Okay.
Do you know if Inkscape is accessible, and is the TGIL accessible for somebody who uses screen readers?
Inkscape is the most accessible program we have found, and that is due to all of the shortcut keys. A list of them, and there is a whole bunch, can be found under the Help tab. Under Keys and Mouse Reference, it's going to pull up, there it is, on their website. And I'm just going to do a few scrolls down so you can see how many shortcut keys it actually has, and that's why it makes it more accessible than most. And yes, the Tactile Graphic Image Library is accessible. And to download a file, you will go to, for each asset, we see a thumbnail picture, but it also reads the asset link. You follow the asset link, that will take you to the download page, and then it will read you that there is a download button that you can follow. But here are all the shortcut keys. I don't know nearly all of them, but with most drawing software programs, we don't use all of the functions either.
I am not quite sure about this question, but you might understand it. Does Tactile View work?
Tactile View is a different drawing software program. Tactile View cannot import PDFs directly, but it can import SVGs. And that again is Inkscape's default download. So you can open the PDF, edit it, make all of your changes and modifications in this program, save it as an SVG, so just hit save and whatever you want to call it, and then Tactile View can open it.
So Inkscape can also emboss images on a Romeo?
It can emboss on high resolution embossers. I'm not sure about the where the Romeo falls. I know there are a lot of embossers out there. Oh, sorry about that. With high resolution embossers, most of the time they come with two drawing programs. They'll either come with the Tiger Suite software, or it will come with the Firebird software. Both of those can open PRNs, and you can save PRNs. That is a printer ready file. It's a printer command. So to save a PRN, I went to File, then to Print, and then you'll see a little checkbox right here that says Print to File. You select that, hit Print, and it will open up a Save As page with the PRN at the end. The key to saving PRNs is to make sure that you have the correct printer selected, since it is a printer specific information.
Just to make sure, when I used a tactile graphic image out of the library, how did I download it? Was it a PDF file that I downloaded and then opened in Inkscape, or was it something else?
Great question. Most of the files are PDFs. Oh, okay, and and I will get to your question. I just want to point this out. This is, it says NetX error. Basically what it means is I have been inactive in the library for a long enough time where it has basically kicked me out. So I'm just going to go and sign back in. All right, here I am back in here. Most of the files in the library are PDFs. And when you are in the list category, you will see .pdf at the end of them. The PDFs, that is the file type that I opened in Inkscape. There are a few other file types, and they are mostly in the art category. This is the digital lightbox artwork category, and you will see .png. The difference there is PNGs are raster file types. While
You leave that page. I'll have
sorry?
a question. When you don't leave that page yet, because I have a question.
Okay. When you the difference, sorry, I got a little distracted there. The difference is with the PNGs, the raster. So they are pixel based. So when you stretch them, they might get the fuzzy ends. But the PNG files in the TGIL are mainly coloring pages. So you don't have to stretch them or modify them most of the time. The PDFs, however, are vector based, which means they are mathematical calculations from one point to the other. So when you zoom in or zoom out, the math magically changes. Well, not magically, but you know, it will change. And so then you won't have the fuzzy edges, say as if you zoomed, you enlarge, say, a photograph. Okay, I have not left this page.
So what does it mean, digital lightbox artwork?
Digital lightbox artwork, that is an APH product. And these are printable, usable, editable files from that APH product. You'll also see color by textures coloring page. That again is also an APH product.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and another cool thing about the library, since we are back here, are greeting cards. Since we've added this category, people have loved it. And just so you know, there are, oh, you can't hardly see it, but anyways, there are light folding lines. So you know where to fold it, or your student will know how to fold it, but they're just, it's just a really neat page. Okay, are we ready to go back to Inkscape?
Yes, please.
All right. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a line. A line is linear information such as rivers or geographic boundaries. And in this case, we're going to need a plotted information on the grid. I'll take you back over here to the zoomed toolbar. And I'm just simply deleting the shapes that I drew. There are 3 line tools in Inkscape. I have not yet found an appropriate tactile graphic use for the calligraphy pen, so we're not going to talk about it. But the top one is the freehand line tool. It looks like a pencil icon. And when you use that, you are holding the mouse button and drawing. The Bezier line tool, which is below it, which looks more like a pen, I guess, I'm not exactly sure. It works with nodes. So how it works, you left click to create your first node, and left click again to draw another one. And you simply click each time you want to place a point. And when you are done, you double click And there's your, whoops, I triple clicked. There is your line. Now, the difference between the two and why I suggest getting used to the Bezier is because it works on nodes. Nodes are each little movement you have made with your mouse. And those are the things you can edit. And zooming in here to the freehand, you can see how shaky it is. And there are lots of little points. Now, you may want to use freehand for something, say, such as tracing the Mississippi River. But in general, the freehand drawing tool is not going to be as easy to change as the Bezier. So let's zoom back out, and I will zoom in closer for you. All right, so here's the line drawn on the graph. I can edit each line, each point. I can add a point. And then I can also, up here on the toolbar specific to the Bezier, change and make it curved. Handles will come and I can rotate it from there. So it can do a lot of neat things. And it's just something you're going to need to play around with to be able to work with. But as it stands on this graph, this line, I'm going to go to its fill and stroke. This line is way too small. On a plotted line on a grid needs to be the strongest because that is what the student needs to recognize and needs to get the information from. So to change the line thickness, I go to the fill and stroke, which is your shortcut key, Shift Control F, and this is in the stroke style. I'm changing the width to a 4-point, and as you see, now it stands out. And again, this is the place to choose your dashed and dotted lines. But again, for a plotted line on an X and Y Cartesian grid, we match the line style, the solid line or the dashed line, to what is in print, because the dashed line has specific meaning. Okay, so there is your line. Any questions before we move on?
I think you're getting to them. I'm going to let you keep going.
Okay, terrific. So we have covered three out of the four building blocks of a tactile graphic. So far we've got drawing a point. In the point, we've added a texture, and we just did the line. So now we need Braille. So I will go over here and show you what the text tool looks like. Text tool, or shortcut F8, is the letter. It looks like a big A. And this will put font on your computer. Up here in the text toolbar, specific to it, is where you can change your font. Inkscape, thankfully, recognizes every font downloaded onto your computer. So if you have a Pixblaster or a Tiger embosser, that uses Braille 29 font. So I'm going to just type that in here. Braille 29. And then 29 at 29 point. Typed that in. And here is your Braille. I just typed in hello. But for the grid's sake, a Y label for the axis line would work better. Put that right there. One thing to note about text and typing directly into the program, it uses Ascii code. And I will here is let me zoom that in. Here is a sheet. It just looks like your keyboard, but it tells you where you can find the contractions and that sort of stuff. As far as your .5 is your double quote. So some of you, especially if you're transcribers and using Exact Translate, might already be familiar with Ascii. And it also, for text and Inkscape, you can copy and paste from your Braille transcription programs. You may have to reformat or some little quirk might happen, but you can get all of the Braille and it will bring over your grade 2 contractions as well. Okay, so any questions before I move on?
I shared a link at abcbraille.com where there is a graphic of the ASCII keyboard image. So I don't know if you have another version to share.
I do know that the Tactile Graphic Guidelines and Standards, I think it's Appendix A, has a list. It really isn't a visual, but it's more of just a list.
Do you know if SimBraille font works?
You can put SimBraille in there, but you're going to have to be very careful because whatever is in this square, whatever is in the printing screen, and that includes the Sim shadow dots, will print. So it is a font on my computer, so you would be able to see it. I don't typically use it, but yes, you will be able to see it, but it is also going to print.
Okay. And at another point or a different webinar, will you talk about placement of points and items on graphs and charts? Like how close to a line, where it should go?
Oh, yes, that will be somewhat covered in the upcoming one about collage. The guidelines and standards also give detailed information, especially when it comes to grids, about having appropriate space around it and the hierarchy of lines on the graph. Depending on your in-production method, you may want to add white space around a point symbol or around certain lines in certain areas to have it show up. But I do recommend the guidelines and standards. It talks a lot about placement and that sort of thing, but it will be covered to a point in the collage webinar.
So lots of people are going, wow, cool. How do we now get it out of there and into the hands of people?
Well, you're going to hit save and you're going to hit print. It depends on your in production method to how you're going to use this file. We will talk about the production methods at the very end. There are a few more useful tools I want to show you in Inkscape, but we will get to the in production method, which is in the hands of students, in just a little bit. So let me show you those few more things. I'm going to switch over to a different page, and here is a clock. It again is from the Tactile Graphic Image Library, and so you don't have to draw it. What you see here on your left is the Align and Distribute Docker. We're going to use it, and then we're also going to use over here on your right, which is located actually there, is the grouping buttons. Grouping takes individual parts, which all of these are, and if you select them all, rubber band them all, you can see all the little squares of individuals. This makes it, I hit Control G for the group, it makes it act as one object. So I don't have to worry about leaving a dial or a hand behind. So that is a nice feature. And you can also ungroup them if you need them back to individual parts. Why I have a clock up here is because I know that there are, well, I see a lot of clocks in textbooks, and it's a lot of work to make them. So I'm going to Control D, which means duplicate. Control D again. And now we have 4 clocks. Say if you need it for how much time is past worksheet, or what time is this, or whatever the case may be. Now to change the hands of the clock, let me zoom in here. I'm using the Selector Tool, which is the top tool. I have selected the hand once, and you can see the little arrows around it. Select it again, your arrows have changed. They're also in the middle, still probably really hard for you to see, is a little cross. That is the center. That's the rotation spot for skewing and dragging and repositioning. So I've moved it to the center of clock because that's where the hand moves from. Then I will use the outside arrow, this rotational, and we have changed the time on the clock. So you can do that for all of them, and your what time is this has changed for all. Now the align and distribute, as I was speaking of before. If I group this clock, Control G, and group this clock, Control G, I can select them both, and then I can align them so they can all start at the top or all start at the left. And so I will, I saw the align, the docker on the side, and it confused me there for a moment. To get to that, all right, and so I'm going to select the one that aligns it to the top. A slight adjustment to the right one went up, but now they are even. This align and distribute is going to be really helpful, say if you are making a bar graph. So what I'm doing now, just to show you how that's done, is I'm typing 1 through 4. I'm going to first zoom in so you can see it. So as they are now, they are not aligned or distributed evenly. If I rubber band or select all of them at the same time, and you can see they're all selected by the little boxes around, I will first left align them, see the change, and then I will evenly distribute them. So that just kind of lines things up and makes it look clean and neat in a short amount of time. Something else about the Selector tool I will show you after I draw this rectangle. And this has to do with the double clicking, as I showed you with the rotation of the clock hand. The first click, when you use the outside, it changes the shape. A second click, and there you can see the center better, you can also skew your shape. So this Inkscape program, it does a lot of really neat things and hopefully will make your tactile graphic making time shorter, and in the end, your tactile graphics better. Now, the last handy function I want to show you in Inkscape has to do for you collage creators. As line tools and spur wheels require a reversed image, since the task requires you working from back to front, in the same manner as a slate and stylus, a quick reversal of the image makes it possible without a hassle. So in front of you, I have Canada, the United States, and Mexico map. If you are planning on using a spur wheel or a line tool you're going to need this image reversed. So I'm simply going to select all of it. And then I'm going to be using this button right here. That button flips the object horizontally. So in one click, I have it flipped. And then I can print this out on a desktop printer, on Braille paper, and follow the lines that are there. This eliminates the need for a light box, and it also is probably a better going than if you tried to hand draw it yourself. Now, all images do not require this step, only images that have a distinct shape. And graphic embossers and the fuser work very differently, and so they do not need this direction. They need the direction of your print screen. So I'm just going to hit Control Z, which is the undo button that's also familiar to you if you use Word. The Control C for copy, and the Control X for cut, and then paste also works. So that should be useful for you. Okay, so you now know how to create the 4 fundamentals of a tactile graphic: textures, lines, symbols, and Braille in Inkscape. But please know that you do not have to master the drawing programs to use them, but you will have to draw specifically for the output method you are using that works best for Braille and your best results. And this may mean changes in line thickness, spacing of the object, and Braille font, and adjustments that might need to occur. So before we leave Inkscape and go to the production methods, are there any more questions?
I hope I can phrase this correctly. When you opened the file in Inkscape, did you open it in any particular way? Meaning you downloaded a PDF. Were you hitting open? Were you hitting import to then get to use it in Inkscape?
I was opening it, but let's just do a quick walkthrough.
And it's the clock that they're really focusing on.
Well, no matter the image that you're wanting to put in, could any of that. But so let's just minimize all these things I've got pulled up. Okay, so we are going to open Inkscape. So I'm launching the program. And here we are. Here's your blank screen. I'm going to File, Open. And from here, you're going to have to track down the image wherever you saved it. What popped up handy for me is the animal cell. So I am just going to open that file just to show. So I've selected animal cell and I hit Open. This little PDF box always pops up. I have never found a need to change anything on it, so just select OK. Takes it a minute, and it popped up on my second screen, so I pulled it over. And there you are. That's it. The file is now editable in Inkscape.
So you showed me that you can select everything. How did you make it so I could move the mitochondria?
Okay. So here is the animal cell, and I have selected it. As you see, we just have the one box. That means everything is grouped together to act as one thing. So to ungroup it, there is a button on your right-hand side about 3/4 the way down. It's ungroup. Or you can select Control, Shift, and G together. That ungroups everything. And now we have individual clicks of things you can work with. So if you wanted to change the properties on this shape, you'd go to Fill and Stroke. There we are. Stroke Style. And I'm going to make it dotted. It doesn't need to be dotted, but I'm making it just for this purpose. Or if you wanted to fill it. Or if you wanted to delete it, you can do anything you need to do, because even though animal cells are about the same, print chooses to highlight certain things. Sometimes print has a more simpler version, sometimes a more complex. And that's where you go into the drawing program and fit it for your needs. Okay. And you will see down at the bottom this APH logo. It just appears on all of the images. If it is going to be a problem for you to print it out, feel free just to delete it. But that is how you open up a PDF in Inkscape.
I think you're good. I think we need to move on. We'll work on getting back to other questions as needed.
Okay, all right. So then let me stop sharing, and Leanne, we will go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so common production methods. And here is a quick list of options. Collage and tooling, sometimes thermoform is used. The computer-assisted graphics that can be used with microcapsule paper and emboss graphics. In-house at APH, we use a thermography process and also a Roland UV printer. Once tours become available again, hopefully, you can see both of these processes in action while in the tactile graphics production department. So collage and tooling. Banna's definition of collage is a manual method for producing tactile graphics by which various textures are glued onto a base layer. As you see, the photo on the screen is of an ink print image downloaded from the TGIL. It was a PDF, and its corresponding collage graphic made from the base outline. If you want to know more about this method and how to use the library along with it, tune in to the webinar on February 10th, because it's all about collage tactile graphics. The next method is microcapsule and the fuser. Microcapsule paper is paper that's coated with a layer of tiny plastic capsules, which expand under heat to form a raised image. So here, the image you see from the Tactile Graphic Image Library is the goal ball court. So any black area on the paper will swell up when processed. This paper is sold under a variety of names, and the fuser, it's the machine that raises the image with heat, is often called a P-off, picture in a flash, or a swell form machine. So to use this goal ball court image, you download it from the TGIL, print it on a desktop printer using the microcapsule paper, and then run it through a fuser. And embossed graphics. Images made up of dots embossed from a computer file. Some machines are capable of creating different levels in height, and even some have color options. A variety of programs can be used with these, as we've discussed today, and CorelDRAW has a large Braille following. They even have Braille macros that some people have created, as well as templates. Here on the screen, you see an opened box from the TGIL, and then an image from the greeting card that was ran on a Tiger embosser. I simply used highlighters to make the birthday cake stand out. So know that no matter your method, you have lots of options, and that the TGIL can be used with any of them.
I have a quick question for you about the microcapsule paper. Is there a particular type of font that you know might work better with this type of
Yes.
graphic?
Each method requires its own font. And in the guidelines and standards, I believe it's, let me see here, it is Appendix B. It talks about sample Braille fonts, and it recommends the Swell Braille font for the Swell paper.
Okay, I'll move you back to your graphic. Sorry. So there were a bunch of questions about embossers that I'm going to get to. Before I get to them, I am briefly going to share that the Mobility Matters Summit 2021 is a field trip designed for students, but educators, parents, museum curators, etc., are welcome to join in this virtual field trip for educators, parents, and their students. You can register free, otherwise it's just a nominal cost. We're actually utilizing tactile graphics and 3D graphics, as well as providing options for those. So I just wanted to take a moment and put that out there. But Sally, for the moment, I am going to kind of go through some of the questions that we have really about embossers, and hopefully you can help us answer some of these.
I hope so. And also, I know that William is doing a webinar this upcoming Wednesday, I believe, and it is on the PixBlaster. And I know that there are a lot of embossers, so I will try my best to answer the questions. And if I don't know, we'll look into it.
Okay. Do you know if you can emboss from a Juliet 120?
I believe, yes, you can. I am not sure if it is going to be high resolution. So it might be one of those embossers that can do simple outlines, but I'm not sure if it could be able to handle, say, the animal cell.
Okay. Is there a specific category in TGIL with Tiger embosser files?
Yes, there is, and that was the last one. We went there to see the Wyoming Image of the World. Those are PRNs, but know that anything you see in the library in the PRN category is also a PDF, and that you can make any of the PDFs a PRN. So even though that there is a Tiger and Phoenix specific category, you can create any of the files into a PRN. And that was where we went to the print, and it had that little button of print to file. That's how you create one of those.
Chris from Humanware has jumped on and shared with us that Juliet prints high resolution and should be able to do high resolution, but not varied dot heights like the Tiger or the View Plus. And Chris, if you'll change your type to all panelists and attendees, they'll all be able to see what you're typing in there. Okay, so
yes, thank you.
Can the images that are in the TGIL be used in any Braille embossing software programs?
They can be used in any Braille software programs. You might have to change the file type before they can go in, as we have periodically discussed, but all of the images are made to be edited, and each program has its own way of working and different types of buttons. Those programs won't look like Inkscape, but they should be able to make the point, the line, the area texture, and the Braille, all of those programs.
So I am correct to say you cannot directly emboss or send to an embosser and from Inkscape itself.
You can if Inkscape, if your embosser shows up from Inkscape. You can definitely emboss from the program. You if you wanted to bring that Inkscape file over into a different program for some reason, say if you wanted to bring it over into the Tiger Designer program to do a little more cleanup or to see exactly how it's going to look before you hit print, that's the reason why you would make the Inkscape into a PRN to open it there. But you can definitely print directly from Inkscape to the embosser.
Okay. Do you know what size paper you would need for tactile graphics so the Braille comes out in proper size? I'm wondering if we're talking about more collage.
The Braille size, the size of the paper really should not affect the size of the Braille dots. To change the Braille dot size, you would need to use the text tool, and that is where you change the font size. And for each font, there is a recommended point size. For Braille 29, it's 29 point. And for the swell Braille, I believe it is 24 point.
Okay, we have another question about, do the graphics emboss on an index basic D? And who knows, we might have somebody out there who could actually answer that if you can't.
Right, chime in. I want to say yes, but I am not completely certain. Your user manual would have that information, and I am kind of thinking that the index works with Tactile View. That's a drawing software program, but like I said, there's so many embossers out there, I'm not exactly sure.
And what's nice is Chris has chimed in again and said yes. So I have a question about submitting a graphic to APH.
Yes.
What type of vetting process and standards does APH use if someone submits one?
Well, if and when the graphic is submitted, we first make sure that it is not in the library. We second make sure that it follows the guidelines and standards and that it is a readable tactile graphic. Slight changes may be made to the submission to make it as such. And then we have it proofread. And only then at that point will it go into the library. And to submit is the same email as it is to contact us for other information. So that's tgfeedback@aph.org if you're interested in doing that.
Do you know if these files are compatible with Adobe Illustrator or other drawing software, or do they have to use Inkscape?
You do not have to use Inkscape. We worked with Inkscape today simply because it is free. It will work with Adobe Illustrator and it will work with CorelDRAW.
I am not sure if you can answer this one, but I'll try. Can you emboss the tactile graphics at the same time you would put real labels on them? Are they meant to only Braille on one side?
Yes, yes. Tactile graphics in general are only on one side because of the line punches and if you're thermoforming. So tactile graphic pages are single-sided. You can add Braille labels in Inkscape, or if you have whatever your production method is, you could always use a slate and stylus and add labels afterwards. And you can also add in embellishments. If you use a high resolution embosser, embellishments are always useful. So you could add a cardboard point symbol or add some string. You could always do a mix like that.
If the tactile graphic I download has Braille already on it, is it possible to remove it using Inkscape?
Absolutely, absolutely. And just with that animal cell I pulled up, I deleted the shape. You can very well delete the Braille. There also is a function that you can go to edit and you can select the same. So if you click one of the Braille labels, then go to edit, select same, you can select same type of object and it will select all of the Braille and you can delete it out if that's what you need.
There are a few people that are going, you know, I don't have available to me a way to produce tactile graphics. Do you know of any place like Staples or another printing service that prints things out like this?
As raised lines, no. Of course, they probably could do you know, the ink image. If your method is collage, which basically, you know, that's pretty hands-on. That's cardboard, that's spur wheels, that's hot glue guns, that's string, that's all sorts of things. Please join in the next webinar, and we will, I give a couple of walkthroughs on how to turn this print image into a collage, and that again will save you time.
There was another question, but I don't know what it is. Will this work with Spot Dot? I apologize, I don't know what Spot Dot is.
I don't know what Spot Dot is either.
Okay.
Hopefully someone out there does, but I'm not sure.
Okay. And slightly off topic, but important, have you heard of any type of certification in tactile graphics, or one maybe on the horizon?
Well, the first thing I know they're working on is updating the guidance that they're working on. Yeah, I know from what I've heard, it's a very lengthy process, but they are barreling through, and hopefully we will have the UEB update soon. As far as the certification for graphics, I haven't heard anything, and that would be a very hard task to do. It would be great if they would have one, but until then, webinars like this and other information, any sort of thing we can grab is the training and the knowledge that we get.
Okay, I'm trying to see if there's any other questions coming in that I haven't caught. I apologize if I missed one. Please feel free to put it in again. It was shared that you might reach out to your Instructional Materials Center to see if they have the ability to make one for you. Possibly, if you're also talking about a 3D print, there are some local libraries that have 3D printing access, as well as some of your high schools have this access. So those are places that you might want to look into. Do you know if they have to set the Juliet 120 to print in high resolution, or is it automatic?
We don't have one of those specifically in our office, so I'm not exactly sure. That would be more of a owner manual question.
In Inkscape, do you do a regular save, or does it need to be saved as a specific file type?
It depends on how you want it. I do a regular save, which saves it as the SVG, and that icon, it pops up and it kind of reminds me of a PDF because it's just a blank page. If you reopen the SVG, it doesn't automatically bring it up and give you the Inkscape view. You would just have to simply open it in Inkscape. But it depends on what you need it for, is to what you save it to.
Is it correct that any PDF in the TGIL can be ungrouped once you open it in that SVG program?
Should be, yes. And if you run across any sort of problem, you're working with a specific file and it's not doing what you think it should, or something that I've told you, just contact us. That's the tgfeedback@aph.org, and someone on the TGIL team will gladly walk you through and help you out to the best that we can.
You have had lots of people sharing in the chat resources with one another, which has been good, especially answering questions about particular embossers that we might not be able to get into. I will remind people that next week, Williams is going to cover tactile graphics. Yes, of course, we're talking about our tactile graphics, but they are similar to other ones out there, so you might find that very helpful. It is part of this series talking about tactile graphics and that access and work that you do. So that is part of this series, even though we have information on particular bossers in particular. And I want to say thank you, Sally. This has been a fabulous workshop, really learning more about how to use the library efficiently and make this a worthwhile endeavor for everyone getting in there. And I love that they can reach out to you and find out further information if they need. So thank you.
Yes, it's been wonderful. Thank all of you all. And if your questions come later, just reach out to us and we'll get with you.